Welcome to the final part of our Favourite Noizzes series, where Will Marshall sits down with bands to discuss their favourite album of 2022, as well as asking for a recommendation of a band that might break big in 2023. On top of that, Will does a little bit of fishing around what might be coming up for the bands themselves. Apologies in advance for this intro and my audio quality. I don't have a microphone and I'm in Spain. Sorry, not sorry. I just want to take this opportunity as well to say thank you on behalf of Will, myself, and everyone at Noizze for both this series and for everyone that's listened to every bit of podcast or viewed or looked at, read or engaged with anything that we've put out in Noizze or on the Noizze podcast this year. It means the world to us and we can't thank you enough. We're really looking forward to 2023. We're about to wrap on our Albums of the Year feature. And big up to Dan for pulling all of that together, and to Will for compiling a lot of that as well. Loads of exciting stuff coming next year, so please keep an eye on everything that we're doing. And as usual, we would just want to be bigger and better. Anyway, in part 4, this final part, Will sits down with Paul Green of Devil Sold His Soul, Charlie Rolfe of As Everything Unfolds. Apologies in advance if I get any of these names wrong. James Broady and Jamie Waggétt of Grief Ritual, and Ross Beagan of Godeater. You can follow us at Noizze or at Noizze Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. You can follow Noizze on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. You'll find this podcast on streaming platforms wherever you like to stream your own. A review, like, share, subscribe, any of it means the absolute world to us. It does a huge amount to boost our reach too. You can check out our essential playlist that we compile from the new Noizze features that we do. We appreciate and love every single one of it. Enjoy the episode.
Well, thank you again so much for joining me this evening. So today I've got the lovely Paul from Devil Sold His Soul joining me, and we're going to be talking about all things 2022 and a little bit of 2023. But first of all, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, Will. Yeah, cheers. Good to talk to you. Thanks for having me on here. Things are going good. It's been a pretty busy year in some ways for the band, touring and stuff. So it's nice to kind of get to the end of it and have a bit of a recap and look back at what we've done. So yeah, thanks for having me on here.
No, always a pleasure. Because, like you say, obviously you've been doing a bit of touring as the 1 year and now at 1 year and a bit anniversary of Lost coming out. Doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it's
It feels like forever for us, honestly, because we obviously wrote it and recorded it the year before and everything,
yeah.
and it's with everything in the world, all of the backlog of gigs and stuff, it still has pushed everything further back, and maybe we are still in the Lost campaign when we probably would have moved on to something else by now. But it's really, really obviously still proud of it, and even a year and a half on, I'm not quite bored of the songs yet.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, talking about 2022 and what's been going on this year, one of the reasons I really wanted to do this sort of segment is that people, and it was said on an earlier one, another band said that sometimes fans forget that bands and musicians are fans themselves. So what I really wanted to find out from you today, first of all, is what's your favorite album that's come out in 2022?
So I was doing a recap during the week, and just I knew we would have this chat coming up, and so I'd look through everything that's come out, and it kind of shocked me that I thought some albums had come out this year that came out last year, and vice versa. So there's some in like Rollo to Massey's, for example. I thought that was last year. I totally thought Where Myth Becomes Memory was 2021, but it's not. And Bleed as well, Bleed From Within, I thought that was last year, but it wasn't this year. So those two are honourable mentions on my list. But 100%, like, my favourite album this year was Ithaca, They Fear Us. I absolutely loved it. They weren't a band that was really on my radar before probably last year. And some of the guys in the band are already fans of them and sort of put me onto it. And I was just blown away when they first brought out They Fear Us, the single, the title track. I was like, the riffs were just ridiculous from like 2:30 onwards on that song when it just kicks in heavy at the end. It's just, it's just amazing. And from that through to like the last track, Hold Behold, I just such a beautiful end to the album. I really, really, really love that record.
Yeah, I totally agree that it's one of my favorites. It's like my top 5 this year have all been, with the exception of my top spot, have all been like, this is so close. There's been so much great stuff, and Ithaca is so incredible. I like yourself, I was sort of a latecomer because I saw them at Arctangent 2019.
Mm.
So obviously that was on the Language of Injury cycle. It blew my mind. And then obviously lockdown happened. I got the album on vinyl. I was really enjoying it. And then this one, when I was sent it, I just remember putting it on and going, like the first single on, even because it came out before, and just going, the glow up, like from an already good debut to this is unreal.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, and that's not a diss on them at all, because I was just so blown away by how brilliant it was. And yeah, I remember because we obviously had Jamila come on stage with us at Arctangent and with chat here and do like the guests on the Noizzes, which was awesome. And I was talking to her, and I just remember saying that, you know, the whole Behold track at the end. It's one of those things where you hear it and you go, I wish I'd written that. I really wish I'd written that song. And it's just stunning. So yeah, fair play to them, and they've got some really big things coming. They're gonna get a lot of good stuff going their way off the back of that, and they deserve it because they're good people and they write good music, and that's how life should work.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. Yeah, they are absolutely wonderful, and she's like she's hilarious. You know,
yeah,
such a laugh, and such a. But yeah, the whole world as well of that album, right? With not just the music, which is insanely good in and of itself, but the whole world, the aesthetic, the classic kind of font that you see on the cover, that really kind of timeless, but also really not at all very metalcore artwork.
And the orange dress, man, it's iconic.
The orange dress, yeah, it's already iconic, and that album's not even been out a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, totally agree. They Fear Us by Ithaca, 100%. One of the best albums that's come out this year. And like you say, they're going to be doing them. They've just announced the tour with Get the Shot. It's coming to New Cross in January, like the end of January.
Or you think about, I mean, looking at that run, it's like that's going to sell out, and that's going to that's a carnage at New Cross, especially.
Yes, yeah. I don't know if you've listened to the Get the Shot record that came out this year, but it is the most like big, stupid, hench, metallic hardcore record that it's just so much fun. So that's going to be an incredible tour.
Cool. That sounds good to me. I might try and get down to a show if that's possible.
Yeah. So moving on from album of the year, which again, can't say enough good words about. Let's talk about who do you think people should look out for in 2023? Like, what's your pick for a band that are going to be, that are going to be like the next thing that people are talking about?
See, I'm not very good at picking that stuff personally, because I'm not like a lot of bands that everyone's talking about kind of be the buzz bands, aren't they? And I like music for music, the quality of music, not necessarily about how they're put on a pedestal all the time. And based on that, like I really am excited. And I know he's my mate and everything, he's my band member, but the new Copse record that's coming out this year, Ed's really humble with everything he does and says, and he's not over egging it and saying, "Oh, it's going to be amazing." But I know it is. I know the quality of the writing that's going on there, the passion that's going into it from the guys. They're all a good bunch of lads. Johnny's recording it again. I just know it's going to be really good, and they've got some good, really cool stuff happening this year for them as well. Some announcements. I'm not going to spill those beans. It's not my place to do it. But yeah, they're going to have a really good year, and I'm excited for them. Just again, it's really good music. I'm sure there'll be other bands that are the next big thing that come out this year, but for different reasons. And the quality of the music that Copse are doing, and how in keeping that is with not just current trends, but how they enjoy music. That's important, and I think it's going to be brilliant.
I agree, because I listened to because he sent me the Copse EP ahead of time, and I listened to it and I just thought it's just really, really good, like kind of post black metal is in the loosest sense. Like there's a lot of black metal going on in there, but there's a lot of his own, there's a lot of him in it as well, right? And there's a lot of like all the other guys, obviously. But it's really good, really emotionally strong, really, really good songwriting.
Love to see
and I've heard 2 songs, and I'm like, I agree that this is a band people should be excited about.
I don't know how many tracks they're going to do this year, or whether it's going to be another like 2-track or an EP or something. I haven't really chatted to them too much about how the size of it, but it's just going to be good. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see where they go with it, and the same thing. Like Devil won't probably last forever and ever and ever. It's a nice legacy. You can go on to Copse will be growing, and it'd be a nice little thing to segue into this over time as well, I imagine. So yeah, that's exciting. I'm hoping he does some. Everyone sort of has a listen and gets into it.
For sure. Yeah, again, totally back that. So that's a band that we should be definitely excited about is Copse, and that's Copse, just to make sure people don't think talking about a copse of trees. So last but not least, then we come on to the final bit, which is Devil Sold His Soul. What are your plans that you can talk about for 2023?
Yeah. Well, we start in January writing the new record. We've got a lot going on this year, so I don't know how far we're going to get into it to start with. But yeah, we've got weekends writing camp in Jan. We go down to Reading usually for that, sort of like just chuck our ideas into the hat, and blast them around, etc. And sort of try and probably get a couple of 3 tracks together over a weekend. I'm going to try and do as much of that as we can over the year and try and break the back of the new record. I think that's important. We don't want to lose any momentum that we've gained from Lost, because we have grown quite a bit in that time, and the support from the label's been amazing. So that's part one. Part two, we've had 2 10-year anniversaries of 2 albums in the last couple of years, and we are hoping to do a weekend of shows, 1 album each night at a venue in London. So that's something we'll do. Blessed and Curse one night, Empire Light the next, which is going to take a hell of a lot of effort to get all of those practices booked in, because we're terrible at communicating and planning our time together. So like I said, that's probably going to impact on writing for the new record, but we want to do this. I know people are going to be totally into it. They're going to those albums mean a lot to people.
Yeah, so I mean, when our mate Dan saw that you'd repressed Empire of Light or pressed Empire of Light, like the messages that were in our group chat were just going, oh my god.
Yeah,
because he loves that record, and I get it. People adore them, and they'll flock to those shows, I'm sure.
I honestly, Empire of Light vinyl as well. Genuinely, we had it remastered for it, so it's next level on from where it was on the CDs and stuff. It's so yeah, Johnny was pretty excited about hearing it in that format. So yeah, we're looking forward to get it. It's a shame that the vinyl sort of pressings take so long these days. Otherwise, we'd love to be able to have it now and pass it out to people. But yeah, it's those ones. So, and we also were speaking about touring in some new territories we've never been before. So Australia, New Zealand, back to Japan, hopefully. That's all on the cards, and that for us, that's really exciting. We obviously want to play the cities we played many times before and see the people that we've built friendships with over the years. But for us, we've been going for so long, 20 years nearly, that to go and do a tour in Australia would be, that's incredible. Everyone buzzing, and it's sounding like it's probably going to happen towards the end of the year. So yeah, exciting times. We'll try and get some more EU dates and stuff in the space in between, but priorities are getting the anniversary shows done, finish it, starting and getting quite as much done as possible on a new record, and yeah, just enjoying ourselves. That's the thing. We don't want to burn out. We don't want to hate doing this band, so just want to do as much as we can to enjoy it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the crucial thing, isn't it? Right. You can do the celebrations and put all the work in, but then you don't want to just be in a position where you're like, actually, I don't want to write anything new now. I want you want to be in a position where you can take a couple of weeks off afterwards, maybe, and then be like, right, now I'm excited to get back into band mode. Yeah,
I'm really I'm probably a pain in the ass to the guys, to be honest, because I've said if we're going to do anniversary shows and we're writing new records, because I don't want to be a legacy band to the extent where you just do anniversary tours, because that sounds terrible to me. I'm not 60. I'm not retiring. This isn't how I'm going to live my life. I'm going into this, and I want new music. So not that they have to do what I say. It's all very much everyone's involved in these discussions, but I want new music. People want new music, so we're going to do that.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, well, thank you again so much for chatting, for sharing all the amazing news, and again, Ithaca and Copse as the picks for album of the year and ones to look out for. 2 phenomenal picks there.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate your time as always. Good to see you again soon at a show, no doubt.
Oh, definitely.
Cool.
Thank you ever so much for joining me. So today I'm speaking to the Charlie of the wonderful As Everything Unfolds. We're going to be talking about, first of all, probably the big question that everybody loves to answer in December is, Charlie, what's your album of the year for 2022?
Oh, do you know what? It's a really hard one because like it's felt like a really long year, and I had to kind of really think about it because people tend to forget albums that were released at the beginning of the year,
Yeah, they
and then
do.
so albums that kind of take up a lot of the space towards the end of the year kind of get remembered. But I think it's kind of between two albums, and I'm going to be that horrid person and not be able to pick between them. And it's Coping Mechanism by Willow. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And the Nula by Vukovi. I enjoyed both of those albums, and I can't sort of decide between them. I think I like them for very different reasons. I just thought Willow's album was just really refreshing, and like I listened to it track for track, and I was like, this is just a good album. Like the songs flow into each other. It feels fresh. It feels new. The production's great. Her voice is great. It feels slightly experimental at points, which is really cool. And I just love Vukovi. Like I'm the biggest Vukovi fangirl like ever. So everything they do, I adore, and I think they are one of the best up and coming bands, especially in the UK. Hugely underrated, in my opinion. They're great live as well, so I think they definitely deserve to be high up on an album of the year list.
For sure. Willow, I remember we briefly spoke about that, I guess, well, probably like when it released.
Mm,
Yeah, very, very good album, actually. And it's one that's not been the only, I think, I guess, so it's not been in my sort of album of the year contention just because I've had so much coming
yeah.
through, you know. I don't know if I've been able to give it the time it deserves, but
Mm.
that's not to say it's bad. Like you say, she's got a great voice. She's got a cracking
Oh
voice.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
really well written. It sounds great.
yeah. I
Um,
think that's it for me. It had all the package thing. Like for me, like an album has to have the package deal. Like these days, I'm a bit more kind of fussy about like things, and because when you do start to write albums, and you kind of start to pick up on things that you wouldn't have before, and I just feel like it's a really well crafted, at the end of the day, it's a pop album, but it's a really well crafted rock pop album, and it crosses so many genre boundaries, and I think that's why I like it, where I'm sort of like, it's got that punky edge to it, it's got a little bit of metal, it's got riffs, it's got the pop hooks. I'm like, yes, all over.
yeah, 100%. I'm going to say actually because it's definitely something, isn't it? When you must be able to start picking up on things where you're like, oh, they've done that. That's really
Mm,
interesting. And I guess it's a similar thing with Vukovi. Like you say, it's they know their way around a pop hook as well,
oh yeah,
Vukovi.
yeah, yeah.
I guess I was quite late to the party with Vukovi, as in it was this year with Nula that it finally clicked, or that I finally
Yeah.
had the time to sit down and go, right, let's listen to this.
Mm.
And I remember seeing them at Islington Academy,
Hmm.
and just having my mind blown. Like that's one of the best shows I've seen this year, and I've seen a few. Just the energy, the stage presence, and the songs
Yeah,
are huge.
that's it.
They,
I mean, like, you watch them and they just always look like they're having a good time. And I think they
yeah,
genuinely are like that. And I think that comes across so clearly, which I think is, such an underrated thing.
yeah. You love seeing a band having fun.
Hmm.
Obviously, it can't happen every time. Sometimes, you've had a shit drive on the way to the show,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something's gone wrong. But as long as you can kind of look like you're having fun, it'll
exactly.
translate well. Whereas these guys, yeah, they seem to just be having the best time. And it's a concept record, which
Hmm.
normally is like the domain of, let's be frank, overly wanky prog. That,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's
but
what drew me to it as well. Like, because I'm really into all that stuff, as I'm sure and I'm sure it's kind of standard knowledge now within the AU fandom. Like, I always try and like to build stories in a world. And when they sort of said it was this concept record, but what I like is that it's not like too in your face. It's kind of
mm,
quite subtle. Like, obviously, there's this character that it follows through, but like it's not overbearing, and it's not like Iron Maiden where they've got a literal like what do you call it, like a mascot or anything. I find
Yeah,
that just that little bit too far, but I really like that conceptual element to it. And I think for a band so early in their career to pull off something as good as that and as elegant in the way they've done it is quite rare, and that's also why I think it's hugely underappreciated.
definitely. And the thing is, as well, is it's got, like you say, there's a subtlety to the actual concept, but it also tackles, it's not just, hey, let's tell this story. It's let's tell this story that's got really serious
Mm-hmm.
underlying themes to it. Like, it deals a lot with mental health. It deals
Yeah.
with it deals with sexism. It deals with feminism, and it's
Yeah.
a
Well,
really
it kind of uses a
powerful record.
character. Yeah, it uses
Yeah,
like this character to kind of push and kind of embody the ideas of all those things. Because
yeah,
also then it kind of, when you're talking in the third person, sometimes that can be quite a good way to connect with other people. Because as vocalists or as lyricists or whatever songwriters, we'll often write in the first person because it's like your feelings, but to kind of actually take all those feelings and put it into like a conceptual person, a bit like what Mike M did with the patient. Like they created the patient
yeah.
for the Black Parade, and that's what the Black Parade is written from the perspective of, which I just think is so genius and not something that I've been able to do. I honestly, this is what I mean, is that I've tried to create ideas and concepts and things like that, but I've never been able to succeed in it. So I'm kind of envious. I think that's part of the reason I'm so like into it, because I'm so envious of how they've done it, and all their videos, tie into it, and all the artwork looks great, and they always look cool. Like I always find as well, like Vukovi have always got such this unique look as well, just like in the way they dress, and like they just don't look like anybody else. And I just think it's really, really cool. And they're clearly just doing what they want to do and not listening to what sort of the industry is telling them to do, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. It feels quite futuristic in the way the way they just
Oh
embody
yeah.
that. I've with that in mind, like some of my, and even just on a really, really basic level, in the kind of like lizard brain kind of level, there's songs like
Mm.
Lasso and Quench,
Hmm.
where the choruses are the most ridiculously outsized choruses that, like, they're some of the best I've heard this year. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
they're just enormous.
yeah. I Lasso was my most repeated song on my Spotify Wrapped, and I knew it would be. I knew it would be, because it is that chorus, and the video is amazing as well. Like they really, really went all out, and I respect it, and I love it.
Yeah, it was pretty high on mine, actually, on my repeat playlist as well.
Mm,
Outside of Harriet and Scowl,
yeah.
because I'm nothing if not predictable. So that's two really great picks for album of the year, and like you say, they're both at great records for different reasons. So we've got Coping Mechanism by Willow, and we've got Nula by Vukovi. But looking ahead into 2023, what's one band you reckon people should have their eye out on, or they should start, like, get ready to be doing big things next year?
Do you know what? I really don't know, because like a lot of the only band I'm going to say is Rivals. I think that they are, they've sort of, I talk to Kaylee quite a lot. We've been sort of been like in communication for quite a while, and I love their previous album, Sad Looks Pretty on Me, was one of my top album of, I think it was 2021 or 2020, obviously a bit of a blur the last few years.
Yeah.
But, and I've just loved them ever since, and they've gone independent from a label, and they released, quite a few singles, and they've kind of utilized TikTok and really, really hammered in on sort of the viral, creating like a viral sensation of themselves online, and it's fucking worked. They've basically gone independent and gone, fuck it, we're going to do our own thing. We're going to try and work out what works for our band and not just follow a formula that we've been told to follow. And they literally had, I think Kaylee tweeted something about them having like a billboard in like Times Square or some shit. And I'm thinking, and she was like, all completely done by ourselves. And she was talking about how, because they've funded it themselves, they know where the money's going, they know what they're paying for. So I don't know. I think they're and she's a really, really strong woman, and the band are like great, and they're doing some really interesting stuff. And I really think people should sort of pay more attention to them, because a lot of people sort of see them as just this sort of TikTok band, but I really think that they are so much more than that. And their music is, like I said, their music is great. Everything's great. Like, they are geniuses in marketing, and I just love their music. I think it's great, and that's and I know that they're not. I don't know whether they're doing an album or not. I think again they're just kind of rolling with what's working. They're just releasing singles after singles, and they're doing really, really well. So yeah, all the love to them, and that's what I'm sort of looking forward to, I think.
Nice. So we've got Rivals. It's interesting you mentioned like this like TikTok band has almost become a pejorative almost, but actually it's just a band that's really savvy as to how what's working for messaging right now, what's working for getting out there. Because a song will go viral on TikTok. Like to pick to pick a much older example, like King for a Day, that's having a moment despite coming out however many years ago.
Yeah.
And that's going viral. So if you can get a new song to do that.
Yeah. I mean,
really
I'm not being
smart.
funny. Yeah, it's the best viral marketing tool, but to be able to work it out to the degree they have is actually phenomenal. Like, they've got hundreds of thousands, if not, I think, 1 million followers on TikTok, and they are absolutely raking it in from, in terms of fan, because stuff like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, it doesn't, unless you pay them thousands of pounds, they don't push you to new people. They just show you your content to the same people over and over. But the whole idea of TikTok is the For You page and like finding new creators and finding new content. That is literally the idea of the platform. So what they've done is they've just taken their music and gone, well, let's just put it in front of these people, and they are just getting so many hundreds of thousands of views on everything. And even us who aren't even remotely going viral on it, how many people, like, even just from a video that's got 20,000 views, how many people have been transferred over to our Spotify or to our Instagram that have said they've come from TikTok? And it just, I don't know, I think a lot of bands are scared of it, and including, we're not great at it. We're sort of still very new and trying to figure out where we sit on it. But it's definitely something that bands should not run away from. You should run towards it.
Definitely. Yeah. And again, and that's obviously something that Rivals have done. So that's our one to watch for 2023 for yourself. Now, really good way to segue into the next and the final segment we're going to do for this little sort of podcast section is, as everything unfolds, plans for 2023. What can you tell us, basically?
I mean, obviously, we've started releasing some singles. So we've released Felt Like Home and Blossom. And obviously, I'm sure people are aware, we've sort of started rolling the campaign for what's coming next. And pretty early in the new year, we'll be getting some new content, some new announcements. And we've got quite a few shows and unannounced sort of tours and shows booked that, again, will be announced probably quite swiftly in the new year as well, alongside all that. I think all we've got confirmed for next year is we've confirmed Burn It Down. So we announced that the other day. We're doing Resurrection Festival in the summer. So a lot of this stuff is sort of towards the end of the year. But obviously we've got a lot of gaps to fill at the beginning, which will be made clear as soon as possible.
Yeah. Amazing. So people expecting, in other words, because, there's the two singles so far, stone cold bangers, and they sound so good live.
Yeah.
Very happy. I did actually get to come and see those. They sound great live. Obviously people are going to be really excited about what's coming next. You have been sort of talking about and teasing that you've worked on new material, clearly.
Yeah.
So very much looking forward to hearing that, and obviously to see some more shows. Burn It Down is kind of one of those. Burn It Down's a really interesting one in that it's in Torquay, which is
it's literally in the middle of nowhere.
hell to get to.
Oh, it's awful,
most people, but it does so well, right? It pulls a really good lineup.
Yeah, I think the team just know what bands to book. They're not. They've been doing this for a few years as well. But I remember when we first did it, like the headliners, I think it was like Basement or something, so they've
Yeah.
been very, very on it for the last sort of few years, and I love it. It's so well organized, and everyone on the team's lovely. We've never had any issues or anything, and we were very happy to be asked back, which is really nice. And Resurrection, obviously, we're playing because we didn't get to play it last year because our flight got cancelled when it was all the airline strikes in the summer.
God, I remember
So,
that. Yeah.
but yeah, so at least it's kind of come full circle, and we're allowed to play it this year, which is very, very nice. We've got yeah, like I said, we've got a couple of other things that will be announced, and a very busy year, I think, but really, really nice. And I'm very positive about 2023 for as everything unfolds. And I think that anybody that's been in doubt over the last two songs in terms of where they think our direction's going, don't worry, the next one will be nice for you. It's one of those things that, like, we really, we've always been a bit of a, we've got songs like Grayscale, we've got, Hiding from Myself, we've got Take Me, it's always very, very different. And it just so happened that two songs that were relatively similar, in terms of not having much screaming involved, were kind of released one after the other. But just keep your ears open.
Yeah, I don't know. Blossom's got that really big,
Yeah.
I guess, like post-chorus,
Yeah,
where you just let go for it, and that's killer, that bit. But yeah, I do remember it with the Felt Like Home, where people are like, "Oh, where screams?" And I'm like,
thing is, it's like one of those things. Felt Like Home was written to be a festival song or like a live song, and the tour we've just done with Being as an Ocean was kind of the first test of that, and it works. Like, on people were
oh yeah,
absolutely loving it, like jumping around. It's it can get a lot of crowd engagement, and that was kind of the reason we wrote it, because we wanted a song that, like, we could mutually, the crowd and us could both enjoy at the same time. So the fact that it's worked and it's paid off and people love it is absolutely amazing. Blossom, we've been playing it live. I've been absolutely loving playing it live, which is weird because obviously, back when we wrote it, I never would have thought that it would have been, one that I maybe would have enjoyed as much live, but I really, really have been enjoying it. I think it's just very atmospheric, and I think it's just much more mature, and I don't know, just good vibes all round, and I'm very excited to start performing some other new stuff.
amazing. Yeah, because there's and there was one that a few lucky people heard at the Camden Assembly quite a while ago now. So yeah, very excited for that. Very excited for this new direction. That, like you say, there's more maturity in some of the songwriting. And then you've other songs like Felt Like Home. We've got the big festival bangers that everybody loves. Let's be honest.
We just like to cater for everybody and ourselves. Yeah. We don't like to put ourselves in a box. If we want to write one song like that and one song like this, then who's to tell us no?
Exactly.
And I think people like it because then there's something for everybody. You can take all your mates along to the gig, and they can just come in for the one they like, and then you swap over.
Yeah. I just sent it to my friend, and he was like, "Oh my God, yeah, this is amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, I told you." Anyway, cool. I think that's a perfect place to leave it. So thank you ever so much for your time this evening, Charlie.
That's all right. No worries. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm here with Grief Ritual with James and Jamie. First of all, so we're outside the Black Heart, so apologies for any shite sound. First of all, we're just going to be running down your #1 album of the year. Don't mind who wants to go first on that one.
I'll go first. So I'm Jamie from Grief Ritual, and I'd go for God's Country by Chat Pile.
That's a stellar choice.
It's just an incredible album. Like, I was really kind of into the Jesus Lizard and Scratch Acid when I was growing up, and that album has kind of touched that, but also added so much more dimension to that kind of sound. So it's just incredible.
Car coming down. In the High Life interviews outside the gig. Yeah, so that Chat Pile record's fantastic, to be fair, yeah. Really heavy to get through, like thematically.
Yeah.
Really challenging, but great. What would you say is like the best song off it as representative of the record?
I really love the one about Grimace, which I can't remember the exact name of. Is it like Grimace, like Purple Man smoking weed in my bedroom?
Oh yeah, I think
I know. It's the last track in the album. which is just, it's got a bit of everything. Either that or is it Y, where it's about homelessness.
Oh,
and
Y
it's just,
is, yeah.
It's brutal, like, but it's everything they're saying is exactly true. Like,
Yeah,
you've got all
it's-
this space, and I know it's marginally about the USA, but even in the UK, there's like empty houses everywhere. That
Yeah, I mean, we're doing this in London, which has got
Yeah.
one of the worst for that, like
Yeah.
in the entire UK with the rich-poor divide. So yeah, Y is a stormer of a song about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I think I was listening to that and just going, can I get through this song
Yeah.
without getting too angry?
Yeah, it's like the lyrics as well, where he's like, I think it's like, I couldn't push my shit around in a shopping cart all day, kind of thing. It's just like, it's so dark, like,
Yeah.
thematically, but equally, it's just a bang of a record as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible.
God's Country by Chatpile. So, what about yourself?
So for me, I've just been frantically trying to remember what came out this year. I didn't know we were going to be asked these questions, but I think Malevolence, Malicious Intent for me.
Yeah.
I fucking love that album. I love that band. I think out of everyone in that, like our bands, I'm probably more into like the metal side of things as opposed to like hardcore. But that album for me is like a sick blend of hardcore, traditional metal. I just think it's fucking amazing, and like to see it get them sort of like out of the scene a bit more and into like arenas and stuff, like supporting bigger bands, just been fucking sick.
Yeah, I really like that one. I don't think it's in my top 20 this year because that's how good this year's been. But that's no shade on it as an album because it's huge, isn't it? It's like I've seen people say it's Pantera without the racism, and I'm like, you know what?
That's the best shout, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got those huge grooves and like you say, it's got enough of that hardcore bite, but it's kind of a bit more polished now, and it's taken them. I saw them playing at fucking hell, where was it now? I've seen them do like the big shows, and I've seen them. Didn't they open for? Yeah, they opened for Architects. Didn't they? Ali Pali. That was great.
Yeah, and I think alongside that as well, my other favourite album of the year is probably Harriet. Is it Profound Morality? Yeah. Which is sort of like the opposite end of the spectrum of like metal and hardcore to Malevolence, but I think that album especially, I think it's just fucking blown the scene. Yeah.
Bonus EP there, because that's huge. That like, I mean, it's if anyone, like you said, you've seen me on Twitter. It's no secret that they're like they topped my Wrapped this year.
And
the band. I'm sorry to my editor Jack.
That was a Pingu Ice fan though, pretty special.
All right, we'll move swiftly onwards to band that you think people should be watching out for in 2023. Who do you reckon's on that? Not necessarily on the cusp, but who do you reckon's either going to drop something that's going to shock everyone, or maybe even on that cusp?
I'd go for Zulu. Incredible band. Like, I saw them at Outbreak last year after wanting to check them out for like the previous year or so. They just got a bit of everything in their sound. The vocals are just sublime. Like, there's all the heaviness that they've got there. A lot of the stuff that Flatspot Records puts out is incredible.
Flatspot,
like, it's such a label. Like, you just know that that's a mark of quality. Yeah. So for me, I'd go for like Zulu. I just think they're amazing.
Because that new single is fucking hard. Yeah. It's so good.
I think that's like the best word for it is hard, but like even that doesn't quite explain like how big it is. Like.
So Zulu, fantastic shout. What about yourself?
I honestly have no answer to this. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head to look out for.
I could go for another one.
Go on then, Wack.
I think Burner are going to have a huge year next year.
I pushed it the wrong way.
Sorry.
Special guest. So Burner.
Yeah, I'd say Burner I think they're going to have a huge year next year.
I really hope so, because the record's obviously going to be coming out next year. They've been talking about it. The Vision of the End EP was just something else, because I know there's the whole like the death metal played by hardcore kids is really in at the moment, and it's the best kind of death metal. They're doing something quite special with it, I think.
Yeah, there's no one quite like them, I don't think. They're not even like a throwback band. They're just something that they're themselves, which I think's it's what you need to be as a band. Like, it's great to take things from other places because that's kind of what we do. But equally, you've got to put your own mark on it, and they really shine out for doing that. Like, I think they're an incredible band.
Yeah, two very much kind of like, again, in like almost in the hardcore world, Zulu and Burner doing very different things with the genre. So yeah, fantastic shouts. And last but not least, then let's talk Grief Ritual in 2023.
Sure. So we've got like quite a fair bit to announce, but which we're not allowed to talk about yet, unfortunately. So next year, hopefully, it'll be building on what we've done so far with the previous just release that we put out in September, Spiritual Disease. We're playing Reality Unfolds in New Cross in January with Street Soldier and Burner.
That's banger of a lineup.
It's such a good one. Like there's so many, like just all the bands that I've built so far, and there's more to come as well. So it's going to be a hell of a day. Like we're really looking forward to that. Yeah, and then we've got a couple of like weekenders and little tours that, as I say, we can't really speak about them yet, but
yeah, we've got a good one locked in for September, which is a really good one, which hopefully is going to be announced very soon. And again, we've got a couple of summer festival things potentially about to be announced as well. Nice. So yeah, exciting.
And
amazing. Forward to 2023.
Kind of the most important thing, I guess, as well. It's like we're starting to write the follow-up to Spiritual Disease as well. So
nice.
We're going to be seeing kind of. We're not quite sure what form it's going to take yet, but hopefully we'll have something out sooner rather than later next year.
Yeah.
But we're looking forward to that.
Amazing. Yeah. So look forward to more Grief Ritual in 2023.
Definitely.
Spiritual Disease fucks. So looking forward to seeing what happens. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining me this evening, Ross. So I've got the Ross from the excellent Godeater, a Scottish sort of technical death metal, I guess, is one way of describing, but not quite tech death.
I guess that's about as close as you can get. I kind of just call it death metal now because
it's a fair shout.
It's right down the middle. People will argue about that and try and siphon it off or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, technical death metal is the one that kind of gets branded around a lot. Technical deathcore kind of stuff like that. It's really hard to play. That's basically it.
It's death metal that's hard to play. Perfect.
Yeah.
And we're here today. First, we are going to talk a bit about Godeater because you've got a great new album that's recently come out. But first of all, we're going to be talking about albums of the year because it's that time of the year.
It's December.
So if we start with, well, first of all, what is your album of the year for 2022?
I've agonized over this for like weeks.
It's a big choice.
Not because we talked about it, but because I always do a little like, oh, this is my album of the year, and like we tie it into like the Twitch channel and stuff as well. And I think I've decided that it's the new Gaerea album. And I hope I've said their name right because I feel like everybody says it differently. But yeah, Gaerea Mirage. It's the one. It's the one for me. I think that album combined with seeing them live earlier in the year has like sold the whole thing for me. I really liked their previous record. So I was pretty excited when they were doing a new one. And then the singles kind of started coming out and I was like, oh my God, this is like a band that was already like pretty stellar. And like they've leveled up again in the space of the 2 years. Like this is wicked. And then I went to see them live this year and I was just like, yeah, I'm in. Like 100%. This is like a band that I really, really enjoy. And I think that's helped swing album of the year for me.
Nice. Yeah, because I caught them at I caught them at like 1 a.m. at Mystic in Poland at the festival. And we didn't stay for the whole thing because we were absolutely fucking knackered because it was like the first day we'd got there. Or the first full day
1
of the
morning. I wouldn't be doing that.
there was a 1 till 2 a.m. slot, I think. Yeah, something like that.
I pass. I'm shaking I know people can't see the video, but I'm shaking my head because I know I'd be like, I'll just go to bed. Thanks, guys.
Well, we did about 20, 30 minutes in. But anyway, yeah, well, obviously because they're all masked and they don't say anything, I had no idea if they played a new song or not. But then when the record came out, like I think for me, I'd say, while it's not my album of the year, it's probably my favorite black metal album this year because it does enough post-metal as well.
It's also just really well produced.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a huge thing for me in kind of just listening to music. And I know my friends always kind of give me a hard time because like a new album will come out and be like, yeah, it's okay, but like the snare sounds like shit. Like I am that kind of like borderline meme. and the Gaerea one came out, and I was like, I simply don't have anything bad to say about this. It sounds great. Like, it's produced to an absolute T, and it's black metal with just the right amount of like black metal and kind of post metal and death metal all kind of rolled into one. And then just the sort of like image on the side of it, which I'm always a bit like, I'm a bit touch and go on sort of image and masks and the anonymity thing. Like, I get it, but like it's not really something I've ever wanted to do. But see, when I saw them live with the masks on and like the way they came on stage, I was just like, this is great. I love this. I will have like all of this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's what you're doing with it, I guess. Yeah, no, they were great when we caught them at Mystic. Didn't see them come on, but like, yeah, totally get that their presence on a stage, it makes sense.
It was the way they came on stage, because I was obviously quite excited to see them, but the way the like, I guess the kind of vocalist front person, I think they've had a bit of like a lineup change as well. Like there's sometimes a 4-piece and sometimes a 5-piece, and because it's so anonymous, you don't really know who's who. But the sort of front person at that time came on stage, and like the way they came on stage, I was just like, oh my God, this is like, I'm watching like a powerful performance actually happening like right in front of me. And I think because it's coming at that sort of tentative, like, oh, shows are kind of happening again. I was like just captivated straight off the bat, and then the album came out, and I was just like, yeah, this is great. I love this.
Shows are coming back, and they're nailing their colors to the mast with going all out on it. Yeah,
Completely. Like the energy was like up, and like actually, annoyingly enough, the sound. Like I don't know if they were using a touring engineer or an in-house engineer, but like it wasn't. The sound actually wasn't good, but the whole performance and the like commitment to it, I was just like, that's even for someone like me who's like, I would say quite critical, and I actually do unfortunately let things like production and mixes like affect my enjoyment of music. The fact that I was able to like just completely bypass that and be like, no, this is still good and I'm still invested in this, I think kind of speaks volumes for like how cool a band they actually are.
Yeah. And the fact as well that, because as like you say, as someone who's quite big on producing things properly or at least well, because probably no such thing as properly, as long as they're doing it well and it sounds good. This is black metal as well, right? Like a lot of people that enjoy black metal will be in the true cult, and it's like, oh, if it doesn't sound like it's recorded on like a Fisher Price, from down the hall, they don't care. But I hate that.
I mean, one of my other favorite bands, like of the past like 10 years, I'm about to completely probably butcher their name, but Der Weg eine Freiheit. They're from Germany. They
so
are
good.
like the reason I got like into them in the first place is like I think it was their first like they done like a couple of like EPs or like longer, not quite an album, but like a mini album kind of thing. But their first album, I put it on and I was like, oh my God, the guitar tone sounds good. And the kick drum is like a trigger. So it's like super audible. I was like, this is like the best thing I've ever heard. And that's the same, like it's black metal, it's raw, but like it's so well produced and like well put together that I'm like, nah, I love this. Great.
Yeah. Fantastic. So album of the year, I'm probably going to pronounce it differently. Don't know whether I'm getting it right or not. Is Gaerea, I've always called it, and Mirage. So that's a fantastic album, and I'm definitely agreeing that is like, for me as well, like the best black metal album I've heard this year, easily.
Yeah. It's definitely like, I'm sure I'll do this and you'll record it and release it, and I will then decide, actually, no, it's not. It's my number 2 for whatever reason. But at this current moment in time, it's been number 1, and I've like tipped it as number 1 since like fairly early on in like the hype of the singles coming out. So it's stuck the like initial hype, and I'm still listening to it. So I'd say it's in right now number 1, and probably in fairly good stead to stay that way.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So if we're moving on then to a band, or rather a band that you think people should be looking out for next year, like who's on your radar that you think's either currently going unappreciated or that are gonna have a really good year next year and people need to get on board with?
So the band I have absolutely like not shut up about in the past year are Great American Ghost.
No, you have not.
I have not. You follow me on Twitter. You see me about once a week posting about this band. So I kind of stumbled across them. Like kind of knew about them, but I kind of stumbled across them accidentally because they did an EP at the start of this year. So like, I guess they done a single like late last year, and I kind of stumbled across that, and I was like, what? Like, what's this? Great American Ghost? That sounds like a pretty hard band name. And I'd seen like the logo, and then I went and checked them out, and I was just like, holy shit, this is so good. Like, I don't even know what it is. Like, it's kind of thrashy sort of death metal, kind of Morbid Angel, but it's got really modern, again, production. And then I kind of obviously did some digging, and I was like, oh, it's like a Will Putney mix. I actually think Will Putney manages them as well, which kind of, I guess, explains that they've had like a really strong year. But yeah, I was like, this is a really cool band. Like they look the part as well. Like the guitarist, who's there. One of the guitarists is in Norma Jean as well, but the guitarist who's kind of always there, he plays like a sort of ESP like star guitar, and I'm like, if I ever see one of them, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. Like, love it, great. So I was like, they totally like look the part, and then I saw they'd been announced for Fit for an Autopsy's UK Euro headliner, and I was like, oh my god, like I gotta get down to this show early. Like, it's a 5-band bill. My back's already sore thinking about it, but like they're on second. I've got to get there early, and like, surely this is going to be like cool, but like they're going to be second on, so it might be a bit hit and miss. And it absolutely like blew me away. It like it was unreal. Like the stage presence, the sound, like the performance. I was just like, yeah, great. And the like mosh call in the first songs, like, be careful what you wish for, you fucking cowards. And I was just like, I'm pretty sure there's a video of me somewhere like just launching my fist like into the air. So yeah, Great American Ghost, very good band. I hope everybody actually does listen to me and check them out.
Yeah, they're again, they're one I was not familiar with till that tour came round, and I need to go back to. So that's given me the impetus to sort of go back to them. And it's really cool that every single person so far has picked such a different band as well. Like no one said Great American Ghost yet. But again, like you say, they're a band that once you've seen them live, you're like, shit, no, okay, they've got it.
Yeah, so I'd seen them then, and then I saw they were announced for the Polaris UK Euro tour. So I went to see them again, and I swear it was even better. Like, even in that sort of like, I think it was like May and then like August, September kind of time. And
Yeah.
I was just like, even the growth that clearly they've had from touring in that time shows how much that touring actually helps a band to be better. But it was almost a different band as to how much better it even was. It was insane. It like absolutely blew me away. And like watching the crowd reaction from the show in May with Fit for an Autopsy to the show with Polaris, clearly people are like getting behind the band as well, which is just great. Like I love seeing that. The energy in the room was like right up. And I mean, both tours were like absolutely stacked. So I always anticipate a bit of a like, by maybe this sort of second, third, or fourth band, whatever way it relies, there's a bit of a drop in the energy, and it just wasn't the case. Like they brought it up and kept it up, which was just like fantastic to see for me. Like it was kind of validating to like have a band that I've been like, oh, this band are sick, you should check them out, to then see them live and be like, they're even better live. So
yeah, there's nothing worse than me like they're so good, and then you see them, and then you have to start saying they're so good on record.
And I've seen many bands,
yeah,
many bands like that over the years.
Thankfully, that's not the case. So that's your pick for one to watch is Great American Ghost. So last but not least, we'll talk Godeater. So what's happening in the world of Godeater?
So recently, back in September, we released our second album, Vespera or Vespera, however you want to say it. It's been great, like actually finally getting that out. it's been quite a long process to get it out, just for various reasons. So to actually get it out was really cool. And we were able to go on tour just before it came out as well, to kind of test some of the tracks live, which was really nice. And so yeah, since that's come out, it's been nothing but like positive words about it, really. And we've recently announced that we are doing a UK tour with Party Cannon in January and February next year, which starts in Glasgow, hometown show to start with, which is always a bit stressful to me. So that starts on the 27th of January next year, and it's all round sort of the UK. And from there, more touring, hopefully. I think we're trying to line up some stuff for the summer because we didn't do that this year. Some other tours later on in the year, hopefully going into Europe. We've never done that before, so we're keen to kind of get that next step up and do one of those bigger kind of UK into Europe tours, one of the longer ones. Like that's the next step for us. So we're kind of aiming for that. And I'm also aiming to write new music as well. I don't know if any of it will be released next year, but we've got like a new lineup. So I'd like to do something kind of, I know Vesper only came out like a few months ago, but I'd like to do something sooner rather than later, purely because of that as well, and kind of show people that like actually the band, well, it's obviously continuing in a touring sense, is definitely continuing in just every sense of the word. So we're doing new music as well.
Yeah, and you wanna not just road test, but you want to find out how you all write together as well, right? So,
I mean, I write all the musical side of it, so
yeah.
I'm not really too worried about that. And to be honest, I'm not actually like worried about it at all. I think we've had some pretty open conversations about trying some new stuff, and I know obviously people have been accustomed to a certain way of writing, but new people are always going to change that. So I think we're going to just take some time to work on that, and yeah, like you say, kind of make sure it's to the standard. But at this point, like I don't have any worries about it, so that's good. In fact, I'm actually feeling like good about it, which is nice.
It's a good place to be in. Okay, so yeah, hopefully just touring the hell out of Vespera and getting that in front of as many people and as many ears as possible. Then basically,
yeah, I mean, I think that's really the goal, because obviously the past few years, like with sort of COVID and our first album cycle, get kind of cut short because of that, and to then go through like basically 3 years.
Yeah,
and actually for the most part we had a really good. I mean, 2020 was more about just kind of taking a step back and writing, but 2021 in terms of playing live was actually really good. This year has been obviously slower due to just getting the album finished and out and the sort of change in lineup. But I mean, I feel like now we've announced that Party Cannon tour, and it feels like we're kind of back to like moving forwards again, which is is really nice. But I think that's not limited to people leaving or COVID. I think it's a mixture of things, and it feels nice to be able to kind of stand at this point at the end of the year and just be like, yeah, we're moving forward into next year, and it feels strong actually, which is really nice. So
yeah, you're happy you've got stuff in the books ready to hit the road.
I mean, that's the most part of it. Like, there's stuff in the calendar and there's things to work towards, and that's, I think, a lot of the past few years has been quite up and down in terms of like, well, can we do this or should we do this? Or there's been a lot of kind of dialogue about that, whereas I think now we're like, okay, we're moving, and we're just moving again, and that's it. Like, we'll do it.
Fantastic. All right, well, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for your time this evening.
Cool. Thanks for having me. It's been good to chat.